Carly, I need to see you and I need to see Miss Surgeon. Um, is it what mid what? Today great. Okay. Um, are we gonna ever get our student back on the or is that
We had the COVID issue with Delta. I'd have to check into it. I mean, honestly, it's a lot of work to keep up with it because we seem to have just like the moving and all of that. We can try it again, but I think for when we first started this year, on the top of my mind, it was we didn't have the student come because of Delta. But then I think maybe the student now we do have a student, but they're in Santa Fe. I off the top of my head, I don't know.
okay? All right. I thought about it
We had
because
a GHS kid,
oh yeah.
but then there was a move, and so and then I thought it was Santa Fe. I can't remember.
Good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, February 8th, 2022 meeting of the School Board of Alachua County. Please stand and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to recognize our Fine Arts Director, Ms. Diana Rollo, and for our musical presentation.
And good evening, Mr. Chair, board members, Dr. Simon, and district administrators. I'm happy to be here this evening once again to highlight and showcase the wonderful things our kids are doing in our schools. I'd like to start by recognizing this month's featured artwork from our students at Littlewood Elementary on boards 1 and 4. Art teachers Amy Talbot and Antoinette Bratton. Glen Springs artwork is on boards 2 and 3, directly behind the board members. Art teacher Katie McDonald. Westwood Middle School on boards 5 and 6 behind me. Art teacher Joy Gatschall. As you can see, the projects featured this month are colorful, creative, and focus on a variety of topics and subjects. Thank you to my art teachers for their vision and dedication to teaching not only the elements of art and art history, but also for giving their students the opportunities for creative self-expression. There's another important opportunity to enjoy student artwork at our first Thomas Center show. The exhibit will be open from February 16th through the 27th in the Thomas Center Long Gallery. Our reception for the students and their families will be February 17th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. So I hope you can join us for that. Our performance this evening comes from our Secondary Honor Choir concert, which took place on Friday, February 4th at Eastside High School. I'd like to thank the staff and administration at Eastside for hosting our event and the 6 choral directors that worked so hard over the past few weeks to prepare their students for this special concert. The participating schools and their directors are Kanapaha Middle School, Morgan Polkowski, choral director, Lincoln Middle School and Bishop Middle School under the direction of Jackie Collins, Buchholz High School, Lindsay Tran, choral director, Eastside High School, Aaron Cook, Gainesville High School, Adam Petrosky, Lofton High School, Nicole Tart. The performance that you're about to see was the closing number of the concert, and it featured all 100 students from the middle and high school choirs on stage together, conducted by our high school clinician, Dr. Russell Robinson, Emeritus Professor of Music Education from the University of Florida. The students worked with him all day on Friday and then performed this concert that evening. The song they are singing is called I Sing Because I'm Happy. It is a gospel-style piece written by contemporary composer Rollo Dilworth. I hope you enjoy it.
I sing because I'm happy.
I sing because I'm free. His eyes on the sparrow, and I know He watches me.
I sing because I'm happy.
I sing because I'm free. His eyes on the sparrow, and I know He watches me.
Thank you very much, Ms. Roll. I will take the privilege of making a couple of comments. I think there probably are a few things in the curriculum where it's been more challenging during COVID. And what we just heard is such a testament to, number one, our boys and girls who love music and who love the arts as part of their life. Our teachers who really have to figure out every way to make this happen. Certainly you with your leadership and gluing everything together, and also our principals who make sure that we have this and programs are strong throughout the county. And I think I'm just thinking how far choral music has come over the last 7 years, and so there are a lot of people that are responsible, but that certainly is a joyous finale, and thank you, and please give our appreciation to our wonderful music teachers.
I sure will. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful day, and the kids all had a fantastic time, and there really was a whole lot of joy in that room that night with those kids up on stage singing. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, it's now time to adopt the agenda. Do I have a motion to? Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you, Ms. Certain. I was remiss, Ms. Ward from ACEA with our monthly union report.
State of the Union. Thank you, Mr. Hyatt. I am Carmen Ward. I'm the Alachua County Education Association President. Thank you, Mr. Hyatt, board members, and community that have come out tonight. I want to just say that we have a slogan this year, ACA members are here to care. And that's here to care. And our members are amazing. I just want to acknowledge that we had 30 out of the 39 Teacher of the Year candidates were union members, and 2 out of the 3 finalists were representatives at their school site. So we had, of course, the winner, the Alachua County Teacher of the Year, was Todd Eckstein from Lincoln, and he is the union rep there. And Kendra Vincent, the Buchholz finalist, is a rep at Buchholz High School. And we also had Nicole Duncan from Rawlings Elementary School was a finalist. But I just want to say congratulations to all of the educators, because all of them have to be Teachers of the Year in years like this. This is not easy, what people are going through. And just to remark a little bit about what they're going through is last year, we had pretty great contact tracing. I've had a lot of calls today about teachers coming down with COVID and then finding out that students in their classes had COVID and they never could find out about it. And this is, and I have talked to the superintendent about this, and this is the responsibility of the Department of Health. We have a serious problem with illness that is making it super challenging for all of our employees to do their jobs this year, as you're well aware. So we are sending out a survey for our members. It is due the end of February. We've sent it out in paper for some of our employees, and we are sending it out weekly to remind members, and it's a check-in. And we will be reporting those survey results when we get those. We also have something called Winter Leadership. So the union provides professional development, and we are taking a group of union members to Jacksonville to Winter Leadership, February 18th and 19th. And before that happens, we will have our next session of collective bargaining. And when it comes to collective bargaining, I must say the State of the Union is pretty upset. Last year, our ESP employees got a 0 salary increase. They did receive a $600 bonus. I'm not sure where that bonus was funded from, but salaries cannot be an afterthought. They must be budgeted for if we intend for our employees to feel valued, appreciated, and invested in. So we are going to be bringing a counter proposal, and I hope that you are empowered and encouraged to be flexible with what is currently on the table, because the salary proposal that came to us most recently, which was last week, was a 20-cent per hour for our ESPs. 20 cents per hour. It sounds like something from the turn of the century. But that is not, it's not acceptable to the union members. I have heard a lot of complaints in my office from veteran teachers that their salary proposal is $238 on their salary, which is 17 cents per hour for what they work. Now, there is a bonus out there with some strings attached, and we definitely, I know that this isn't the time to bargain, but we will be bringing our proposal on February 17th, and I am encouraging my members that have been speaking so loudly in my ear to come to that board meeting February 15th. So, to share some of their feelings around salary. So we do notice that some of the bonus money comes from the ESSER funds, and we do appreciate the creative use of things that look like professional development, and there's a way to also compensate employees for getting that professional development, and we hope that the district continues to use their creativity to come up with ways to do that. Do I have anything else? So I think that's all. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ward. Now it's time for the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Motion moved by Ms. Surton, seconded by Ms. Russell. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Okay, next is the approval of the special school board meeting for January 5th, 2022. Do I have a motion to approve?
Minutes?
Yes, for the minutes.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. Motion by Dr. Paulson, seconded by Ms. Surton. Any discussion?
Yes, please.
Dr. Paulson.
Looking at the minutes, there are a few things that I saw when we went back over the video, and they're not exactly correct. One, Ms. Surton said at the beginning that she had concerns about the emails being sent to board members that have been in violation of Sunshine Law. A small correction, shared concerns about the emails sent that may have been in violation of Sunshine Law, because they weren't. All right, further, the underlying statements from the draft of the minutes, corrections and additions followed in statements from the draft minutes. This is taken off the video. I'll have a copy for our office personnel. Dr. Paulson stated he presented a narrative, which I didn't present a narrative, on November 30th, and it was discussed during the December 7th meeting, stated he was only going to do the narrative. Correction. Dr. Paulson stated he sent an email on November 30th to the superintendent which was 7 days' notice by board policy before the December 7th meeting, stating that the superintendent's evaluation was due by December 1st, and requested the superintendent's evaluation be on the December 7th board meeting to be timely with the contract. Addition to the minutes, the narrative was presented because of being late with the evaluation and trying to satisfy the contract. Addition, Mr. Hyatt stated that during the December 7th meeting, there was a unanimous agreement between each board member and the superintendent to move forward with an evaluation. Unanimous. Dr. Paulson stated that, according to the minutes, it had been a month since the December 7th meeting, and his narrative will have notes and emails to back it up. Addition to the minutes, excuse me, what?
We had agreed that if we had.
Excuse me, Ms. Surton,
We haven't agreed to anything.
I'm going, excuse me, Dr. Paulson. You will be called on for whatever response you need or whatever statement you need as soon as he's finished. Thank you.
But remember, this is directly off the video. Addition to the minutes, Dr. Paulson stated the board needs to adhere to the contract. This is twice in 3 months at that time. The contract had been violated. This is all verbatim. On June 1st, that's all I'm doing is just correcting the minutes and making it verbatim. On June 1st, the board discussed but never voted on using a self-reflection that would enable the superintendent to do her evaluation by August 13th, on August the 13th. Because I was told by Mr. Delaney that we had to vote on December 7th before we could use that. And if that's the case, we never voted on June the 1st. And that's directly off the video. All right, at the June meeting, the chair stated we would address the evaluation in November. But it was not the chair, I think it was the superintendent. But it was never put on the agenda. Never put on the agenda. Mr. Hyatt clarified with Dr. Paulson that the request came after the agenda review. And that's why it was not on the December 7th. Correction, Mr. Hyatt stated when he saw the email, it was 6 days before the board meeting and the agenda review. I had sent that in to the superintendent. The superintendent did not tell the chairman, who works to put the agenda together. That's why he never got it, and that's what Mr. Hyatt said. So that's that. Let me see, I got one more. I have one more, but I'm gonna have to look for it, I think. Oh, there's another one. I got did I speak the one that you said, when we did approve we did vote on the agenda, the evaluation of December 7th, that everybody, including the superintendent, all the board members and the superintendent, agreed to having a narrative at that time. So, I mean, I think this is, again, I corrected it off the video, and that's all. I'm not trying to do anything else, but just go on the video and read it and write it down.
Okay, I would, well, let Ms. Surton speak next. Ms. Surton, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was going to say, I thought that it was requested by staff and through the superintendent that if we had major adjustments to the minutes, that those would be sent in writing to staff beforehand so that they could go back and review the tape, because everyone may not have. Like, I reviewed the minutes, and the one correction or suggestion for correction that Dr. Paulson entered, that about the may have been a violation of Florida, that I did have that minor correction myself, but all of that other extensive stuff, I thought that it was requested that we would email that. And if I'm going to say it was in policy, but I'm not exactly sure of those major revisions to be sent to staff because they need to review the tape, and all of us may not have reviewed and to such detail as that. So that was what I was going to add.
Well,
Well, this
Have
is
the,
detail.
Dr. Paulson,
and the other issue is that the minutes were, we said they're not verbatim is what it says in policy. It's a summary, and so that was the other thing. But the one particular correction on that first paragraph where it says what I stated there about the possibility or there may have been a violation of, I was concerned about it being a infringement of sunshine. I think we do agree upon that, but the major revisions there I think should be sent to staff. And
oh, okay, thank you, Ms. Surton. My thoughts on this is that we do receive, a copy of the minutes, tentative copy, in a timely manner, and we do have a chance to send corrections in to staff as needed. I think that Ms. Surton is correct in that the minutes are certainly not a word for word, but I would say that Dr. Paulson is concerned that there aren't things in it that are incorrect. And so I think both board members have valid concerns here. So what I would suggest, and Ms. Mickens, you can let me know if we can't do this, but I would suggest that in this case, that we simply not vote on this particular one, and because I feel like it's important to get it right, but I also want to emphasize that I think I know that it's the intent of staff to do this accurately and to do it in a manner that's clear to the public. And I certainly appreciate Dr. Paulson pointing out things that possibly need to be fixed. So let me ask again the attorney: is it possible for us just not to vote on this, or do we need a further action or motion?
So, you want to put it on a different meeting agenda?
I would like to, and it's only 1 week, so I'd like to, if it's allowable, I'd like to move this to the February 8th meeting.
Okay, we could pull that from the agenda if
Yes.
you do it by a motion and a vote to pull it from the agenda and
Okay.
move it to next week's.
Okay, so, do I don't know if I have any support on this or not, but do I have a motion to pull this item from the agenda for consideration on the 15th?
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Paulson, second by Ms. Surton. Any discussion on this motion?
Can
Dr. Paulson.
I feel like our staff, I always find them to be very accurate, and I know they wouldn't make a mistake this big unless somehow they got some information, because I have a lot of confidence in our staff. I don't want that, ever thought that. They've all had nothing but good things when I work with them.
Well, Dr. Paulson, thank you, and I didn't take that at all as what you said. I think it's a matter of, what is the extent, what are the details? And I think the fact, I think a very good fact is that all of our meetings are recorded, and so any citizen and any board member, of course, can go online and see for themselves if there's any problem. But I do think that it's accurate, and Ms. Surton and Dr. Paulson, I both appreciate your input in this. So, okay, do I have any further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Sure.
I guess we're tabling this until next meeting with the, what's the purpose? What action will be taken? Will
Well,
something to
what
staff
I'd like,
or what
that's,
is?
I'm sorry, let me be quiet. I'll answer it. Superintendent, well, let me speak. If just before, I was going to suggest that I'll talk to the superintendent and we'll make sure that we figure out the best way to do this. And Dr. Simon?
So we've had this discussion a few times, and one of the concerns that staff have shared is that without having the suggested modifications in writing, so we can look at the video, that it makes it complicated in this aspect. And so I think we would appreciate working with you, Chair, because what we're running into is, do we need to have this just absolutely transcribed, or do we need to work with you in really how to sum this up? Because we seem to be coming to this problem over again, and it would be helpful when there are edits that they're in writing, so we can at least have something to look at. Because I think even if you were to ask right now staff what they're even needing to address in the minutes, I think there's a level of confusion that we're just going to need clarity, including on top of this, specifically the topics that were brought up by Dr. Paulson. I think we need David Delaney, because he was involved in some of these discussions, and I just want to make sure that we have all the right people at the tables so we can talk about this, because I think staff wants to do the work that is correct, and if we could just get some more guidance.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Superintendent, and I will, I'll get with you, and so if the two of us and Ms. Beck and Ms. Green and Ms. Turney and Mr. Delaney, and let's try to do this before the end of the week, and we'll figure that out. So again, I appreciate everyone there. So any further discussion? Okay, and the motion is to pull this item from tonight's agenda and to move it to the 15th. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next is the approval of regular school board meeting minutes for January 18th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Ms. Surton, seconded by Ms. Russell. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next is we have board member superintendent announcements. Ms. Russell.
I was very privileged to attend the groundbreaking at Oakview Middle School yesterday, along with the superintendent and some other board members. It was really exciting. This was part of the half-cent sales tax initiative to see this new building that will have 15 classrooms and a lab. So it was exciting. The fifth graders were there, and they were so excited that this was happening for them, and it was just really a pleasure to be part of that experience. So, yeah, congratulations to Oakview Middle School for their new building.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Russell. Ms. Surton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to say congratulations to our Teacher of the Year, Mr. Todd Eckstein. I think if I pronounced his name correctly. Actually, all of our teachers, as has been stated earlier, as well as our ESP Employee of the Year as well. Congratulations to them. I'd like to share also that last week, members of the board were in Tallahassee for our State Association's Day in the Legislature events. It's a couple days of training that and interaction we have with our colleagues from around the state. And we also had appointments to visit with our legislator. There's a very informative sessions on a review of bills impacting directly or tangentially to education, as well as a review of the FEFP budget, as well as the state budget that they're thinking will be presented by the House and the Senate. We met with our local delegation, had a good meeting with Representative Henson on some initiatives that she's trying to pursue. One that she's wanting to pursue that is education related is to try to propose a bill. She's looking for a sponsor to help students who have finished high school, but they didn't graduate because they did not finish the assessment, pass the assessment, FSA, and they're usually like English language learners, or it could be students who are English speakers, but for some, they want to have some type of transitional mode for students who have not passed the FSA, either or the Algebra 1 exam, to get a regular diploma so that they can indeed have some success and without trying to pursue the GED. Our meeting with Rep. Clemens was interesting, I'll say. We shared with all of our local delegation the need for sustained funding, if not increase. We heard the line that education funding in this budget would be the biggest in history and all that stuff. But we shared with them the need for increased mental health services. We'd hope that allocation would increase, but we really want an increase in the BSA, so that we can pay and have funding, recurring funding to fund raises for all of our employees versus this awarding of bonuses to certain sectors of people. You know, we have the federal money and folks are looking to do that, but we cannot award salary increases out of soft money because it's not recurring. So Mr. Hyatt, we let him, our chair, lead that conversation, and I sat there and I said to Representative Clemens that we appreciate all the things, the teacher salary allocation and all that stuff and the things that they're doing, but we really need sustained funding. And Rep. Clemens, I mentioned that we really would like that they not do the rollback. If they would just give us the millage rate, let us assess it and take advantage of the increase in property values and the new things that come. And our representative told me that, yeah, they don't set the rate because we don't have to assess what they tell us to assess in Tallahassee, that we can assess a lower rate. And I'm like, if the rate you're giving us isn't meeting the need, why would we set a lower rate? We're telling you we need more funding to cover the increased health costs, the increased Florida retirement system assessment that we get, increased transportation costs because that's not fully funded, to fund salary increases and just to sustain salary for all of our employees, instructional support staff, not just certain groups. That makes sense to just assess something less. But anyway, so we did meet with them and we tried to share the concerns of our district and the districts for the state. You know, all over the state, our colleagues are doing the same thing, meet with their representatives. And so we're hoping that education does come out on top, or at least that we stay level in this day out of this particular budget, because you know there is a lot of federal money that's in the state budget, which has allowed it to weather some of the storms, and our sales tax collections are higher than what they estimated in the general appropriations. So we're hoping that education does come out. But we did have a really good week of information shared with us by our legislative committee from the School Board Association, as well as the meetings with our colleagues from around the state. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Surton. And I'm going to add on one more thing that she mentioned, but I want to emphasize it when it comes to be my turn. Dr. McNeely.
Thank you, Chairman Hyatt. I had the privilege this morning to be at Hidden Oak in Ms. Shelby Griffith's classroom, had been invited to that room to share my favorite book, and I selected one from when I was in that grade, third grade, where I visited this morning. And first of all, the book was Make Way for Ducklings, and many of you in this auditorium probably have read about the Mallets, Mr. and Mrs. Mallet, and their babies, 8 of them. And I should have brought their names, but they were like Quack, Lack, Mac. They were all rhyming. And one of the students said, they all rhyme. All of the babies rhyme. But they were wonderful. I wanted the public to hear me say that the students in that class were so excited to hear this story. Many of them had concerns about the wheels and the cars that created problems for those baby ducks. So I was excited to be there to share that with them. But most importantly, students, if you are listening tonight, I want you to know you are experts, not only in what you knew about the book and where you were going with the additional lesson about author's opinion and the reader's opinion. Those were the key elements for that story today. So I wanted to congratulate you at board meeting tonight, as well as a second grade classroom that I was able to visit, and that was Mrs. Beatty's classroom. Boys and girls, you were superb as well. I was invited, Superintendent Simon, to be able to come back to that school, and I am going to take advantage of that and many other schools where you just get to go and be with the students. That's what it's all about. And that's how we learn what they are learning and what they might need. And one or two did give me some whispers of what they want. So I'll be sharing that with the superintendent. But Chairman Hyatt, I just wanted to say that publicly, how well the students at that school, and that was home for me because I interned at that school for principalship under Dr. Doris Richardson. So it was good to be back. It had been a long time, and I just wanted to share that with the public tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Vanilli. You know, of course, when you were telling the story of your adventures there, I have to think of Miss Beatty, who is just such an incredible teacher, such an incredible inspiration to these young people. So what a pleasure to work with her. Seems like a long time ago now, but one of the absolute best. I did want to mention, because it sort of jogged my mind, if the time in Tallahassee, and you know, sometimes you don't feel like you get a lot done, but I felt like every effort to go there was worth my short conversation and hearing the presentation of Representative Valdez from Hillsborough County. And her mission right now, she has a lot of missions, but one is to take care of those students, the former students who got not a standard diploma, but got a certificate of completion, and to use the resources that we have to guide those young folks and young adults and give them the opportunity. And I think we have the infrastructure pretty much already in most school systems. But this is something that I'm just convinced it's our obligation. We've had these children since kindergarten, and whatever it takes and however long it takes, we need to make sure that the dream, be it the American dream or just the dream of being a successful citizen. If she was telling us about one of her students when she was a teacher from Columbia, and he'd been in the country for 3 years when he had to take the FSA. Well, it usually takes, according to people that know, somewhere around 5 to 6 years to become fluent in a language. And here's somebody who just didn't get that that got a certificate instead of the diploma. And the mother called then the teacher Valdez, I guess if she was Representative Valdez, and she said some pretty strong words, most of them in Spanish, saying, how could you do this? How could you promise a future? And that was a wake-up call. And so I feel like I got a wake-up call talking to Representative Valdez. And so I'm sure that those of us who were up there, I'm sure I could count on Ms. Certain and Ms. Russell to, to talk with our folks and see if we can move forward, because these are people that deserve everything we can do for them. So I'm rambling a little bit, but I felt that it was just an incredibly great presentation, even if only for 10 minutes. Okay.
Mr. Hyatt, can I say one other thing?
I'm sorry, Dr. Paulson.
I'll let Ms.
I'm just certain.
Thank you. I failed to mention today, earlier, I went over to Bishop for their Explore Vision presentations. It's instead of a science fair. The teacher it's with their magnet program, but she invited the students to do a group project where they solve problems or research how to solve a problem, hopefully that would have a solution in, say, 20 to 30 years. The children did some wonderful projects, one on ALS, researching ALS and a mutation of a gene using monoclonal cells for that. The seaweed solution to capture, using growing seaweed to capture CO2 to greenhouse gases and all. Floating gardens for areas that don't have enough land to grow food, so they'd build this barge and have a garden on the barge that's out like somewhere near Taiwan, as well as a nicotine pump. So this student, his dad is a smoker and he's trying to quit smoking, and he felt if they created this device to be able to simulate smoking, and it would decrease or catch a certain amount of nicotine. It was like an ingenious type of thing. So, but it was a very good program. The teacher thought she would do it this way versus it being a science fair project so that the students who didn't have access to a lab or a parent or, through a parent or some other relative or something very elaborate, that they wouldn't be at disadvantage for those students who had access to that. So that was really good. And then the second thing I like to say is the past 2 days, I was at our SI schools for the mid-year review, but I got to see a teacher do the U-Fly lesson today, a kindergarten teacher, and it was Miss Merrick's. And Dr. McNeely, Miss Gloria Merrick's, I think it's her niece, and we would all be very proud of her. She was one of our former Head Start teachers when we had that grant, but she's now in the kindergarten classroom, and she did a phenomenal job. I tell you, I would love to see where those students are in 3 years, because, she was on it. So that was a really good experience to be able to see that in action. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Certain. Dr. Paulson.
I'd like to take a time, personal privilege too. I was married to my wife for 55 years next month, and I lost my wife recently. And I'd like to thank the people on the board, and the two leaders, not Miss Certain, but she was there too, but Dr. Simon, thank you for being there, and Mr. Hyatt and the other board members too. So I just don't forget somebody. And it was a great turnout, but for me, I think she was a great woman. And to have the turnout was really a great thing to see. And I just want to thank everybody for being there and doing that, showing your respects. And it's not easy, and I bet a lot of other people know the same thing I'm feeling. So it is something I appreciate very much. And you know who you are too. So thank you. And she taught at Mabane, Spring Hill, was a reading coach in the district, raised 2 kids and also 6 grandchildren we have. And if you were there and you've seen the kids love her. They, just loved that, because she loved kids and kids loved her. And I just wanted to say that. And I appreciate it very much. You guys out there, a lot of you out there that were there, thank you very much. So I just wanted that said tonight. And I wanted to have a tribute to my wife. 55 years is a long time to put up with me. So thank you. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Paulson, and
Chairman Hyatt,
uh,
the superintendent.
thank you, Dr. Benelli. Dr. Simon.
Thank you. So first, we do want to acknowledge Todd Eckstein, our Teacher of the Year, and Julie Rye, who is our School-Related Employee of the Year. Congratulations to both of them. I also want to just let everyone know that we had our DAC meeting last week. I think it was quite a success. We will be bringing some modifications to the DAC bylaws for the board to approve on next week's board meeting. We're hoping to expand shared leadership, so it's more of a collaboration with DAC members co-chairing with us, but you'll have the language to review. And this week we're having our TAC meeting, and that's the Teacher Advisory Council. And one of the things that I want to share as an example of the success of having this community that we get to talk things out, because I had a Oakview teacher who approached me and asked me about Title I funding at Oakview. And because Oakview is an unusual school in the sense that they have a 5th grade on a middle school campus. And so our team, we looked into this concern, and I'm proud to announce that this teacher in our discussion has been able to bring $63,375 Title I dollars to Oakview for the 5th graders. And on top of that, in our expansion of looking at this approach, we're also now able to bring $249,600 to High Springs Community School to also support Title I students because of the fact that it is a elementary mixed and a middle school. This was an exceptional opportunity, and I think that this again points out to the success of us talking and collaborating with teachers, because a teacher asked a question and we went looking and we found not only an answer, but an answer that has quite a few dollar signs associated with it. I also wanted to let everyone know that I went to a leadership training last week with 26 of the newly appointed superintendents. So that would be the group of superintendents who were elected in November 2020, and those from then on. So, or I guess it would have been the November 19 election. They started in 2020. So we had 26 of us. We were at the FAD-sponsored Developing Superior Leaders for the Center for Creative Leadership at Eckerd College. Not only is this a beautiful campus, but it was an exceptional leadership program. All of us participated in 360 evaluations as well as professional coaching. It was so successful that I've talked to our chiefs, and we will be having the chiefs do this training as soon as we possibly can get them in, because we think that this is going to be a huge value added to our team. We also have launched the Going Merry service, and this is the service that allows our high school students to find and apply for scholarships that are offered locally as well as across the country. It'll also help us with FAFSA forms, and so families should be looking for this information. That's going to be a very good user tool for students who are looking to find funding in all sorts of locations, and it's available to every one of our high school students across the district. We also had our annual robotics competition for middle and elementary school students. You may have seen this on Twitter, some amazing photos. We had more than 20 teams that have competed and qualified for the state competition in less than 2 weeks. We want to thank our sponsors, our judges, and other volunteers who made this event possible. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Simon. It's now time for 15 minutes of citizen input. And we do have obviously folks here in the audience, and we have some on the line for phone. Want to remind everyone that this particular section is for items that are not on the agenda. So if you're speaking to action item 2 regarding a charter school, or action item 3 regarding superintendent's evaluation, that would be during when those items come up. As of now, I only have one person that's filled out a form for citizen input at this time, and that would be Carolyn Weber.
Hi, everybody. I am Carolyn Weber, and I would like to thank you guys for letting me speak tonight. So today I was painting a house, and I tend to let my mind wanders in lots of directions when I'm doing something really boring like that. So I was kind of pondering a question, and I just wanted to, this is really just my mind wandering, and it does have to do with the school board. But so someone at a recent school board meeting made a comment that got me thinking about motivations. And I'm an optimist, and I like to give people the benefit of the doubt regarding intent and motivations when they are arguing or have an idea, especially an idea that I disagree with. So many of the issues that I have very strong views on do have to do with education, especially obviously in this county where I have children and friends and family. And I believe strongly that this school district needs to address the opportunity gap that exists between black and white children. I've said this many times, and you guys know that, and a lot of the community feels that way. I think the data is clear that we have a huge gap. If not, I've heard the largest gap in the state. I'm sure someone could tell me if that's still true. But I see a lot of hesitancy in addressing that, and I try to figure out what the motivation would be to not address that opportunity gap and to not make positive changes moving forward. And I'm not talking about you guys in particular. I'm talking about the community, maybe some board members. But what is the reason that we would not want to make positive changes that would help specifically black children in this county? What are the motivations that would lead you to feel that we should not address the opportunity gap? And so this is where I would just like people to start thinking about that question. Why are we not addressing this? Why are people in the community and on the board holding us back from making positive changes that would positively affect our entire community, but especially our black community, which we know in this city?
Okay, Ms. Weber,
yes.
that's 3 minutes. And I'm sorry that we didn't have the lights working. Do you need to finish a thought?
Yeah, I just want everyone to think about that. And, next time you're painting and pondering life, think about it long and hard. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I don't have any other forums, but I do have a phone call. So let's take the call.
Caller, go ahead. You have 3 minutes with the board.
Hi, my name is Talisa Barsha, and I just want to comment on a few things. I want to commend Carmen Ward for mentioning about the contact tracing, because that is not getting done. My kids say all the time about how kids are coming to school with COVID and they're not coming with masks or anything like that. When my son got COVID, they had a doctor's note. The second they went back, they came with a truancy letter. About what Jackie Johnson had to say about what me and another parent had to say about the work on Canvas, I had 7 to 8 emails sent back and forth between a teacher, and this teacher's never said anything about work needing to be done on Canvas. And she basically put the blame on me and this other parent. Now, there's several issues with Rawlings. The School of the Arts. I see other schools doing things about arts all over, but Rawlings never puts themselves out there. That is why there is only 10 magnet students in Rawlings. But you want to put yourself out there to be a magnet school, but there's no art out there. So Rawlings needs to put themselves out there. I had no idea Rawlings was a magnet school until I went to put my son in a different one and tried searching for one for my daughter, because I wanted them to be in a better school, or so I thought. And I thought my daughter would like an art school to dance and to sing and to be magical. But they haven't done that. So those are things that can be done to increase the magnet program in Rawlings. So, in doing so, you could also increase the education. I hope y'all have a great day.
We're at 2 minutes
and a
20.
great
3
evening.
minutes.
Thank you.
2 minutes 20.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Mickens, are you able to run the lights here?
I am not. I'm timing it on my phone, and I'll let you know when we get to 3 minutes.
Okay, where, are the lights not working, or?
I'll be honest, I'm not sure how to work the lights.
Okay,
I can
well,
get someone to show me, and I can. do it
okay,
that way.
do we have somebody here in the room that knows how to do? Okay, Ms. Attorney, I don't think part of law school is running the lights.
Technology is not.
So I'm, that's something we should have checked prior, okay? Okay, great. I just want to make sure we're fair to everybody on that.
Lawyer's doing it, though.
Yeah, okay. Oh, okay, thank you very much. Any more phone calls right now? Not, anyone else in the room? Okay, we will now go
Chair Hyatt?
to, excuse me?
Chair Hyatt, I just wanted to let you know that we will work with the parent who just called. I'll have my team working on that.
Okay, I do appreciate that, and I think I've heard from her before. And I might have a couple of, if you'll get me her number, I would like to call her too. But I appreciate you doing that, thank you. Okay, next, we're at the consent agenda. Dr. Simon.
Board members, I would like to recommend that the board approve agenda items, consent agenda items 2 through 13.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
Motion by Dr. McNeely, seconded by Ms. Certain. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Action item 1, Mr. Shelnut.
Good evening, Mr. Hyatt, board members, Superintendent Simon. Employee case 2021-22-0121-13. The superintendent recommends that the board suspend an employee with pay for a period not to exceed 90 days. Such suspension will continue throughout without pay pending termination.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, anyone? Motion by Ms. Certain, seconded by Ms. Russell. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Ms. Wise.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairman, Superintendent, board members. I'm here this evening with the Constellation Charter School contract. The superintendent recommends that the board approve the charter contract for Constellation Charter School.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
we're gonna have discussion or
Yeah.
questions, or?
Well, let's get it on the moved and seconded, then we can have questions. I know. Do we have a second? Okay, motion by Dr. Paulson, seconded by Ms. Certain. Discussion, Dr. McNeely.
Mrs. Wise, I'd like to know if you have any idea where, oh, thank you.
My partner here.
Okay, then I'm sure she can answer. Where will the location be for Constellation?
You can hear me. We are currently in negotiations with the United Church of Gainesville. It's on the corner of 5th and 17th to rent their educational wing. That's where we currently are. It's not complete yet because they have an internal process that they have to go through with their congregation. And so they're in the middle of that, and we have to wait for them to complete that process. So that's where we are.
Where is that location, please?
It's on 17th Avenue and 5th, which is close to the University of Florida in that area. I can look up the...
It's the corner of Northwest 17th Street and Fifth Avenue.
United Church of Gainesville. They have an educational wing that's part of their church that is vacant.
My concern is many charters that we have accepted and approved, they certainly impact our schools that are closest to them, which are our east side schools. And we are already having difficulty with low enrollment at, let's say, Metcalf or some of the other schools that may be in the east portion of Gainesville. And I'd certainly have looked at your proposal. Everything looks pretty good to me. However, we don't need to have any more, I should say, loss of student enrollment because of the new charter. And so that's why, and this is not my first time speaking about location, because most of our charters, if you look, they're in East Gainesville. So I'm very concerned as to where you will be located, what children you will be pulling from the schools. That's a huge concern for me.
I hear that, and we have looked in many places, and when we were here, I think maybe in the spring, we directed our gaze towards the southwest side of Gainesville because it was recommended that that would be a place that the schools, that community could use. Unfortunately, we have run into a lot of roadblocks finding buildings that are city compliant with zoning and also compliant with what's required for the school. So it's not that we're opposed to looking elsewhere, but we have spent an extensive time looking, and that's part of the problem. We'll find buildings, but then they don't have any playground, or we'll find buildings that don't have the appropriate zoning. And so that is a concern. And having looked at sites for schools in the past, it's unfortunate, but schools tend to not be high on the list in commercial property. Maybe because it doesn't make as much money, but working with different realtors, we have been searching. And so I just wanted you to know, it wasn't done callously or lightly. And it's even has its challenges being in another business because it's a church, but it's what we have to work with, so that's why we're pursuing this lead.
And surely I want you to know, I understand completely what you are stating, but that would be the reason that I would not be in accord with maybe some of the other colleagues because of location.
Understood.
Dr. Paulson.
I have to say, I agree with Dr. McNeely on this. Who is sponsoring this? Let's go first, your board of directors. You have a board of directors, right?
Yes, sir.
Are they local?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I mean, in our county or?
They're all either parents or local business people. There's no one on our board that is not from Alachua County that lives within the city limits. We have one board member who travels up from Ocala.
And I'm in the same concerns as Dr. McNeely, where they're located. Because, you know, they serve a purpose if they're located in a place where we don't want to already take away where we don't have enough students to keep servicing that area. It's important. So I'd like to see that. Did we put, was that on the thing you handed in the, well, where you want to serve? Exactly, where is it again?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
What section of the town are you trying to serve the most?
In the northwest.
Northwest, okay.
Dr. Paulson, you're talking about where they currently are, or?
Where they are and where they plan on going.
Well, right now, it's in the area near the university, fairly near Parker, so that's not in East Gainesville, but it's near campus.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, when I look at this, I'm trying to see where we need it the most. We've had places like Dr. McNeely said, in East Gainesville, we had 3 elementary schools within a mile of each other. That takes away from one area. So, I mean, I'd like to see, did you put the board of directors on your application?
Yes, I am the board president, so I am currently here representing the board.
Give us a list of the board of directors.
Yes, it should be in the application.
Okay, all right, anyway, that's the questions I have too, because, you know, not against you opening, but I'd rather see it opening where it's needed in the community too. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Paulson. Before I call on Ms. Russell, I am remiss without checking to see if there's any public comment on this item. Please. Oh, yeah, come forward.
Carolyn Weber again. I wasn't planning on speaking on this, but I actually know of this school. My business partner's children go to the sister school, the little ones. Morning Meadow, yeah. I'm very familiar with the clientele and who goes to this school. And I live in the Northeast. It's Northwest. Primarily, I would say it's urban core Northwest people. Your College Park, University Park, that, it's very much Northwest. I would just say that. I think most of the children that I know that go there, and my business partner lives in the Northwest, and that space that they're talking about is clearly very much Northwest and by the university. So it would be pulling, I believe it would actually be pulling from some of the more congested schools. What's the one on 8th Ave? Yeah, Littlewood and like he said, Parker. So I don't really see it as a conflict for the east side of Gainesville at all. And I know the people who, is it Montessori or Waldorf? So typically you might get some people from the duck pond, but it's not going to be, you know, it's not really going to affect, I don't believe it will affect the east side that much. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any phone calls here? Ms. Russell.
Thank you, Ms. Luber, for clarifying that. My question is, why do you feel there's a need for this particular charter school? I'm not against them. I just want to know why. What needs are you looking to serve by opening this charter school?
So I just want to be clear that we're not in competition with the public school as much as we'd like to support the needs of all the children in Gainesville. And since Waldorf Education tends to try to have as much of a multidisciplinary educational that some children learn by doing, others learn by having intellectual stimulation, and others learn by being invoked through their feelings. And so Waldorf Education tries as best as we can to catch all of the modalities that children learn. And the arts and music, which this parent was upset about, is integrated in the everyday curriculum. So children have an opportunity to express themselves in all different ways. I don't want to have anybody feel like we're trying to take students away. If anything, we're in the same battle, that we're trying to educate children and give them the best opportunity they have, because it is a very difficult world to grow up in. And children need to know that people care about them and that they have the tools at their disposal to grow up and make change in the world. And so we're just trying to support what you guys are already doing. It's just we're choosing a different educational model. But it's not because we have something better, it's just something different.
So you would focus on those different learning styles for the students who attend your school?
Yes.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. Ms. Surton?
Thank you. I was just going to add, I don't have any questions, but we had I'm not sure Dr. Paulson and Dr. McNeely recall, back in the spring, they did a workshop with the Constellation Group. And I'm like you all, I'm very hesitant about us opening more charters and all of that because of the impact on our enrollment, but we really can't stop it because of the rules out of Tallahassee. You know, if we deny it here locally, they just appeal and they go. So it's kind of a vote for it or here locally, or they can appeal and they'll still get their approval. So it's kind of like our hands are tied almost again, stripping of local control.
Thank you, Ms. Surton. Dr. Paulson? Did you have, your lights on?
Your light's still on.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Russell, were you done? Okay. Any further comments or questions by the board? Okay, hearing none. We have a motion and a second. So we're voting on action item 2. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Nay. Okay, I didn't hear all, I didn't see who, I couldn't tell who voted. So we'll do a roll call vote, starting with Ms. Surton.
Aye.
Dr. Paulson.
Nay.
Ms. Russell.
Aye.
Dr. McNeely.
No.
And the chair votes no. So the motion fails 2-3.
I have a question, Chairman Hyatt, since Mrs. Surton made her statement that there will be an appeal. So this group will definitely come back and we will go through the vote again. Is that correct? Ms. Surton, or?
Well, I don't, I think it's certainly, I think any applicant can appeal, and I think my understanding of DOE policy and Tallahassee and all that's enabled through legislation is that they're most likely going to be approved. But that would be up to the folks at DOE. Thank you. Okay, we're at action item number 3. Ms. Mickens.
Yes, thank you, Board Chair Hyatt. The board members have all submitted their superintendent evaluations, and so at this time, the board attorney is recommending that the board member evaluations of the superintendent be adopted as the collective board evaluations.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Surton, seconded by Dr. McNeely. We're going first to public comment, and this is, of course, speaking toward the adoption of evaluations. So we're going to start with Dr. Kaplan.
Good evening, everyone. My name is David Kaplan. I'm the father of a student at Parker Elementary. I want to thank you for your thorough evaluation, both from Dr. Simon's self-assessment and from the board. And while there were a diversity of opinions from members of the board, a few major themes emerged from the reviews. Major accomplishments over the past year include new and expanded partnerships with UF, Santa Fe, Alachua County Department of Health, and other local institutions, all of which have targeted major structural challenges that have been facing the district for years or even decades. Additionally, the board was nearly unanimous in their appreciation of Dr. Simon and her team's hard work in implementing the board's unanimously approved COVID safety policies, including weathering verbal threats and abuse from elected and appointed officials and staff. That took guts, and it's an indication of the seriousness with which Dr. Simon takes her direction from the board. On the other hand, most board members noted opportunities for improved communication and outreach, a sentiment echoed by many members of the community. I share the concerns of community leaders who were frustrated by delayed and limited engagement, especially in the first 9 months of Dr. Simon's tenure. However, outreach and engagement has expanded in recent months, for example, with the rollout of school, teacher, and district advisory councils. It's a really good sign and a great direction. And notably, all board members but one noted either positive or improving communication between the superintendent, board, and community. So I know this trend continue, and I hope you all will keep it up. Our community has seen the tension among board members, and we know that the board and superintendent will be able to use these constructive criticisms to improve operations this year. Unfortunately, we can likely expect a potentially politically tumultuous and logistically challenging year ahead, but I know this board can come together to set and achieve ambitious goals for our district, goals that are focused on the outcomes that are important to our community, and that includes improving student achievement, expanding academic and creative opportunities for our students, increasing graduation rates, and critically closing the opportunity gap. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Cornell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I've gotten to know, actually, Dr. Carly Simon over the last 2 years, both professionally and personally, and I'm here to speak on her behalf as far as her evaluation. Last year, I served as the chair of the county commission, and as you all know, there was a significant amount of intergovernmental coordination between the school board and your Alachua County Board of County Commissioners. And I appreciated her having an open door and an open line directly to our county manager as well as the health department. I've also had the opportunity to serve as the Alachua County's representative to the Children's Trust, and on that board, I served with two of you up there, Member Simon, or Superintendent Simon and Member Certain. And I certainly appreciate the perspective that both of them individually and collectively bring to the valuable work that we're doing at the Children's Trust. Finally, I would conclude by saying I'm looking really forward to continuing this work with each of you individually and collectively as a board as we work to improve both at the county commission and the school board the lives of our kids in this community, our children in this community, and the families that so much need all of us working together. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Prezio.
Thank you, Board, for having me speak. I too wanted to come and speak in reference to Ms. Simon's evaluation, and I'm speaking, I guess, mostly today as a parent. I'm a parent of a middle schooler at Westwood, and it was amazing to me to watch her leadership during COVID. We're still in it, I know, but it was unbelievable to me that someone whose job it is to make sure that our teachers are safe and our children are safe and educated also had to deal with the amazing amount of politics and national attention and intensity of criticism that she did, and the way that she weathered that with such esteem and poise is to be commended. I also was really impressed when I attended the outreach program and began to see her listen to the community and bring more of the information and the work that they're doing out to the public, and all of the amazing programs that she rolled out in spite of COVID and in spite of all of the challenges to roll out the tutoring programs and the advisory councils. And so I think that in spite of her short tenure and the intense challenges, she's really done an amazing job. And I'm really grateful to her service, and I hope to see you for many more years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Carolyn Weber.
Third time's the charm, I guess. I am here tonight. This was actually my intent to speak on this, but I am very happy with the progress we've made. I think some of the changes that Dr. Simon has made will, in years to come, will start to close that opportunity gap. We'll start to see the progress that she's laid the foundation for. And, nobody is perfect. We all know that. There are certainly things that could have gone better. I think the communication has gotten better. It was a little shaky at first. But I think she listened to the community, and, we need to continue to move forward and continue laying the foundation to make our school district the best school district in the state. So I think if you've got a goal, you guys have a single employee and she's it. And so I hope that you can work together this year to direct her, since she is your employee. I hope that you can work together to direct her in the way that you imagine this district can be, and that it's the best district in the state, and that all of our children will have opportunities and, thrive. So that's what I hope for in the future, and I think she's done a great job so far. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Julie Crosby.
Chairman Hyatt, Superintendent Simon, and board members. I read all of your evaluations very carefully and with a very fair and honest eye. I do want to comment first on one of them, and I took them all together and separately. I would comment that on Ms. Russell's, she had a lot of comments about didn't observe, but then she said needs improvement, and I would just comment on that, although I thought she was very fair on a lot of her comments. But if you don't observe a lot of things, then I don't see how you can say needs improvement. But my comments. I read each board member evaluation. I agreed with the comments about community engagement, particularly with the Black community, who have historically been left on the outside looking in the windows of this administration building. These leaders watch while a majority of their Black children and grandchildren do not succeed in school, and their community is accused wrongly by some of not caring about education. Collaboration and distribution of knowledge and information is uncomfortable perhaps, but it's crucial. Having said that, a sure sign of a transitional leader is that several constituencies are mad about something. Dr. Simon must be doing something right. To that end of serving in transition, to begin the monumental task she inherited of initiating programs and hiring staff to turn this ship around, I believe she has been effective. Consider several initiatives she started in a year and a half, which have not yet had time to come to fruition. UFly, tutoring, data analytics, including visualization of the data, just to have data from this district is an amazing, amazing thing. And that is cutting edge. 2 programs with Santa Fe College, the partnership with UF, these are things we did not have before. Conversations with Hawthorne, that community that was being overlooked to a great extent. Facilities use analysis, actually getting a good look at which seats are not being used in the schools to a deep, deep level. And the Spanish immersion program coming in. The National Association of Superintendents has reported 25% of them across the country quit during COVID.
The day I walked in here and saw a room full of people wearing masks that say, "Fire Carly," and I put myself really in her shoes, and then I took all of these evaluations into comparison, I thought about this morning, and I also remembered that I was here. You guys know I've been here a while coming to meetings and online. I heard you give an excellent evaluation to a superintendent during COVID who really maintained status quo, was not initiating, but that she maintained status quo and she got an excellent evaluation. I don't see how you can do anything but at least give effective to Dr. Simon. Thank you.
Thank you. Dusty Bailey.
Dusty Bailey, have a pair of daughters in the Alachua County school system. I'm an educator as well, though not in this county. I'd like to be able to take my mask off. COVID is just one of the many issues that school boards across the nation has had to deal with. However, the response to COVID in Alachua County has been dismal. I'm not saying that COVID doesn't exist. Obviously it did. Obviously, changes needed to be made, and many of them were. But to have the constant pressure of having mask mandates, the constant encouragement for students to be vaccinated on a trial vaccine, if you would call it that. I think those are the kind of things that should be concerning. I'm concerned as a parent, as well as parental involvement. A lot of pushback from varying viewpoints than what you hold or what this school board as a whole would hold. A lot of parents feel like that their voices have been unheard or even silenced, and that's unfortunate. I think it's unbecoming of an individual that is supposed to represent the entirety of Alachua County schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have phone calls? Okay.
Caller, go ahead. You have 3 minutes with the board.
Hi, my name is Dr. Sarah Rockwell. Thank you, Chairman Hyatt, board members, and Dr. Simon for giving me the opportunity to speak. First, I want to offer my sincerest condolences, Dr. Paulson, on the loss of your wife. My thoughts go out to you and your family. As you discuss Dr. Simon's evaluation, I want to encourage you to keep in mind that it is the board's responsibility to set priorities for the superintendent and district. Beyond COVID mitigation, I do not recall this happening, though I do recall some of you pointing out that the board was not offering adequate direction and oversight. In my opinion, Dr. Simon has made progress in the last year during a time when many leaders have barely been able to tread water and without adequate direction from the board. I'm particularly impressed by the partnership she's forged with the UF Literacy Institute and with Santa Fe College, the whole school magnet at Metcalf, and the implementation of a very robust data analytics program. All of these are things that have the potential to improve outcomes and narrow existing gaps in our district. But we must allow more than 6 months of implementation to see their results. I also hear the frustrations of staff and community members who still feel unheard, who long for communication and collaboration, and who worry that not enough is being done to address the gap between Black and white students in a targeted way. I too am frustrated, I think starting the TAC and changing the DAC charter to allow for more meaningful input are a start, but much more must be done, particularly to address the equity gap. I hope the board will make community engagement and closing the gap priorities and provide more guidance to Dr. Simon in these areas. I also ask you to consider the current climate in public education. The public education field is crumbling around us in the wake of the stresses of the pandemic, nationwide staff shortages that have hit education particularly hard, and the escalation of a 20-year history of legislation aimed at whittling away at our funding and autonomy for local school districts. Finding quality employees, especially good leaders, is a challenging task under any circumstances, but right now it's nearly impossible. Dr. Simon is not perfect. She has made mistakes and has areas where she needs more guidance from the board in order to improve. That said, she has led this district with poise during an incredibly difficult time. Despite the obstacles facing her and a lack of clear guidance, she has made improvements to this district. I urge you to consider whether your evaluations are objective and constructive, are realistic given the mere 6 months that Dr. Simon's team has been in place, and take into consideration the ways in which the board could have better conveyed their priorities during this last year. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Next call.
Caller, go ahead. You have 3 minutes with the board.
Okay, yes, my name is Tina Days, and I'm calling on behalf of the support of Dr. Simon, and I was reading on some of the evaluations as much as I can, and what I don't understand is some of the reasoning. Well, if one school board member had, because she fired 9 principals without a reason, that it needs attention, because one of the reasons I guess they felt like she fired them because she wasn't a principal. Well, was our other superintendent a principal? So what does a principal have to do with firing 9 other principals? She's the leader. She probably have better people in a position. Just because she's not a principal doesn't mean that she can't fire 9 principals. That makes no sense. And how can you meet with someone else who you feel has bullied you? How can that person get an honest assessment on someone that they don't really like? So that should have been. I don't know how you can do an evaluation on that. And then the third one, out of 2 years since she mandated masks, my family was safe. I felt safe. As soon as we came back on Christmas break, like school board member Neela said, within a month, my whole family got COVID. Started with my 10-month-old baby. And I've been calling on the school board concerning this. I kept saying I was vaccinated. My older girl was vaccinated, but my baby's not. If my baby would get COVID, we all got COVID. We will get COVID, and that's exactly what happened. And so I support Superintendent Simon because she tried to let us wear masks, protect the people that's not vaccinated. Also, the program Beyond the Bell, because my girls were quarantined for 10 days, they was able to get help with their work on Beyond the Bell. We never had a Beyond the Bell tutoring program that was actually tutored by teachers in the different subjects. Parents, you have option to get your kids tutored. Use Beyond the Bell. It was great. So I support Superintendent Simon. She has the vision. We never had a tutor program for our students countywide. That's her initiative. What about the drawings for employees? I'm not even an employee, but I watch it on YouTube. She have employee drawings. She does everything. So when y'all say low morale for who? Who don't get the good boy favor for 30 years? This is a new time and a new superintendent, and I support Superintendent Simon. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Caller, go ahead. You have 3 minutes with the board.
Hi, my name is Tulissa Barsha, and I'm calling to let y'all know that I think that given the COVID situation, all the politics that are going on right now, the teacher shortages, the staff shortages, given everything that's going on, that the, staffing, the everybody's having to fill in, that the superintendent and the board, y'all are doing everything y'all can. Y'all are doing the best y'all can. Y'all are trying to work together. Y'all are, everything is new. Y'all had to readjust your positions, a new superintendent. We need to give everybody time. Right now, the superintendent is doing a wonderful job trying to, change things to a positive way, to work positive and make positive changes for the schools. And I commend her on everything that she is doing, given all the negative feedback that she's getting from everybody, when she's doing a wonderful job given COVID and all these COVID changes. And I'm proud of you. I am so proud of you. You are a rock star. And my son is tapping me. He wants to say something.
I think.
You gotta say your name.
Oh, hi. I'm Austin Barsha at Rollins Elementary, and I would like to say that Dr. Simon has been doing the best job ever, and she has been doing great at keeping all students in Alachua County safe from COVID, and she is just doing a great job. Bye-bye.
Thank you. I hope y'all have a wonderful night. Bye, y'all.
Thank you. And next call, please.
Caller, go ahead. You have 3 minutes with the board.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I wanted to just say I want to be a little bit more objective in my comments with the superintendent, and I think I want to follow in the steps of Ms. Crosby. Mr. Chair, and being objective, it's not a question of just doing a great job and giving you a pat on the back and everybody wanting to hear that. It's also looking at areas of opportunity where you can improve. It's also looking at what we could do a better job on, and we can all do areas of where we can improve. And if we're being objective with the superintendent, there are areas certainly of opportunity where we can improve, such as being more communicative, collaborative, and even with people that we don't necessarily agree with. When folks are trying to tell you things that necessarily you don't want to hear, it appears that there's sometimes the same old folks in an echo chamber that we seem to listen to. And, Mr. Chair, last year, and looking at this, I watched many, many parents that would come to me in the classroom and talk about not being listened to, not being heard. And so when I hear Ms. Crosby talking about Black parents, Black students, these are areas of opportunity where we can improve. And it's not a question of good or bad. It's a question of opportunity. Does that mean that we should go a different direction? We're not there yet. But there's certainly areas where we could be more collaborative and work together when we are all in this together. And so for me, my comments to the superintendent are, you need to speak truth to power. When things are being said about you, you can't be a punching bag. And you can't sit there and let people say CRT is being taught in Alachua County schools when you know that's not true. You need to speak truth to power. And I've watched the superintendent be on national network news, and that's great. But at the end of the day, the people when the rubber meets the road that you have to deal with and working and parents are looking at you, you have to say, we're not teaching CRT in our schools. And it's absurd. So, to superintendent, I like you and support you just fine. But I need you to be more collaborative. I need you to be more communicative. And that's being objective and fair. And I'm not going to sit there and just give attaboys. But there's certainly opportunities. And if you're honest with yourself about leadership, you know that to be true too. You cannot be a punching bag. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Next call, please.
Caller, you have 3 minutes with the board.
Thank you. My name is Ann Stoy, and my kids started in the district in 2015. And I'm here calling in to support Dr. Simon. She was hired during what we all can say is a very tumultuous year. She's faced nonstop criticism roadblocks from the board, threats from the community, and has kept her composure under scrutinizing questions. In her time, she has accomplished partnerships with UF and Santa Fe, implemented tutoring and equity programs, things that her predecessors were unable to do. And we should have a partnership with UF, and we do now because of her. Her vision for our district and demonstrated ability to deliver it are what our district needs, even if we can't let go of a plan from 2013. And that is why I'm calling to show my support for Dr. Simon. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go to the back to the microphone here. Did Shauna Quirk speak? Shauna Quirk will be next, and then Ms. McCann, Karen McCann, will be after. So, go ahead to the microphone, please.
Hi, can you guys hear me? My name is Shauna Quirk, and I'm a teacher in Alachua County. I also have 4 children who attend Alachua County schools. Obviously, I'm also a member of our community. I am speaking in support of Dr. Simon, and there are a couple of things that I wanted to address. One, I feel that she has been doing an excellent job in trying to implement the needs and wants that the board has expressed to her. I think she has done this while facing extraordinary community backlash for any number of things that are not her fault nor her responsibility. I think I agree with you. I agree with the other caller that I feel like the board should stand up for her much more than they have when people have viciously attacked her. A lot of the comments that I've seen here in person and on social media have been completely untoward, and they should have been considered to be unacceptable by the board, and she should have had your support. I feel very strongly about that. The other thing I wanted to address is that we need to keep Dr. Simon in her position because I feel like our district is extremely close to a tipping point. And I think that a lot of the programs that she has implemented are in the seedling stage, and she needs to be here to help them develop and grow, because I think that a lot of these programs have the ability to close the achievement gap. Maybe not close it, but for sure, in my opinion, based on what I've seen as a teacher and as a parent, I think many of these programs have the ability to lay a firm foundation, especially for our K-1-2 students, so that we don't have a 4th grader who can't read at a 1st grade level. Okay, we're pushing students through when they're not ready. And I think what we need to do is we need to be utilizing our money in K-1-2 to build a stronger base so that these children have the stability and the background and the knowledge on which they can build throughout their entire academic career. We have got to stop throwing money at 3rd grade to get them ready for that test and start spending that money in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd, so that they're ready in 3rd grade instead of trying to cover a 2-year deficit. And I think that that is what is happening. And I think that we need to keep her so that she can see these plans through to fruition, and we can have a couple of years of data before we even consider changing the superintendent again. Because every time we do it, we have to start over. And I don't think our district can handle that. I think we need to keep her, and we need stability, and I think she needs your support. Thank you so much for letting me speak.
Yeah, thank you very much. Karen McCann?
Thank you, Chair Hyatt, board members, and Dr. Simon. I've been listening to what people have to say. I just want to give a little dose of reality here. In terms, everybody's COVID crazy, so in terms of the mask policy, please understand the board voted unanimously for masks in school with staff and with children. It was Dr. Simon's job to follow what the board told her to do. She was doing her job. This was a decision that was made by the board, who is her boss. In terms of UFly program has been here for years. But without the COVID ESSER money that came through, they couldn't expand it because we didn't have the funding. We lacked funding. So with the ESSER funds, we've been able to expand UFly. The collaboration with UF in Santa Fe, that's been happening also for years. There's problems with not working with the union. The union had asked that some of that ESSER money be used in order to help mitigate the increasing cost of insurance due to COVID. That never happened, which means that the employees will more likely suffer with an increased cost in insurance that had to go out for COVID testing and COVID patients. That should have been looked at instead of $250,000 to go for help with a strategic plan, which the board has always been able to do in and of itself without spending. What could $250,000 do? It could buy a lot of iPads for kids, it could buy a lot of computers, it could have done a lot of other things. The tutoring and equity programs, we can be thankful for $90 million, which no one else had, because funding has always been short. We've always struggled. The equity program was started before Dr. Simon was hired. It has been expanded on with money from the ESSER funds. Funding is the key here. Not so much the decisions of the superintendent, but the funding was not there to do some of the things that we're able to do now. So I'm having people call me and contact me, and I just want to say, the truth will set you free. You can't help anybody unless they're willing to help themselves. So please contact your board members, whether it's good or bad. Ask them to phone you because nobody wants to put anything
Okay,
in email.
that's 3 minutes. Thank you very much. Okay, do we have any more phone calls? Okay, let's go back to the phone.
Caller, go ahead. You have 3 minutes with the board.
Good evening, Chairman Hyatt, Dr. Paulson. I first want to extend my family's deepest condolences on the loss of your wife. You and she have been instrumental in many students' educations and livelihoods in Alachua County for many years, very respected couple, and many of your students have been talking about and sharing wonderful memories. So our hearts go out to you at this difficult time. Regarding the item on the issue on self-evaluations, Florida politics, MSNBC, News 4 Jax, NBC News, Washington Post, Florida Senate press release, Tampa Bay Times, Washington Post, ABC News, Gainesville Sun, PBS NewsHour, U.S. Department of Education, Tampa Bay Times, NPR, News 4 Jax, New York Times, Tampa Bay Times, CNN, Washington Post, CBS News, CNN, Gainesville Sun, USF, Florida politics. That's just a start. Let me continue with the next page. Washington Post, ABC News. The Hill, Morning Joe, Don Lemon, CNN, Deadline White House, MSNBC, CNN, All Things Considered, NPR, CBC Radio, Washington Post, CNN Politics, Gainesville Sun, LA Times, Florida Politics, Politico, Forbes, Wall Street Journal, NPR, Washington Post, Daily Beast, Newsweek, Edweek, CNN, The Chronicle, and the Tampa Bay Times. That is what our current superintendent put in her self-evaluation. She is very proud to have talked to many news outlets, but we're still hearing that none of the mask mandates, none of what has been going on in this county at the expense of parents and students and teachers and administrators and all the turmoil, we have been told politics has nothing to do with it. Again, go back and look at every media network that was spoken to. Go look at media networks that were not spoken to. It is about politics, and it's a shame that Alachua County students, teachers, parents, administrators, and taxpayers are having to have this politics in our schools. I implore the board, let's get back to education. Alachua County used to have one of the best districts in the state, the very best. We've had many coaches, we've had many millionaires. They send their kids to public schools because our public schools used to be some of the absolute very best schools. Can we get back to that? And on a side note, while things have been looking at, is anyone listening to our bus drivers? Are you reading their comments? I'm in Facebook groups that I know there are board members on. Bus drivers are pouring their hearts out. There are students, they are doubling up on routes. Do you know that there are students standing up while the bus is moving, taking them to their home? Are you aware of this? Is anybody paying attention to what is literally going on in Alachua County on our school buses and in our classrooms? The bus driver is saying lack of discipline, lack
That's
of
3
drivers.
minutes.
Okay.
Caller, go ahead. You have 3 minutes with the board.
Okay, thank you. My name is Allie Anderson. My son has been an Alachua County student since 2013. He's attended 5 different schools, including Alachua E School. Currently, he's in high school. And I wanted to call in support of Dr. Simon. I see good things. I see hope. And an example was recently I sent an email to her superintendent email address and regarding a problem at my son's high school and that I saw. And I got a phone call a few days later from Wanza Wakely, the director of curriculum. And I think it was good that she had, delegated that authority and, passed it along. And I appreciated that phone call and the chance to explain my letter and what was going on. So that's all I needed to say. I think she needs more time to see if we can really get things better in Alachua County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next call.
Caller, go ahead. You have 3 minutes with the board.
Good evening. I'm Gwendolyn Zohara Simmons, a retired University of Florida professor of African American Studies. I am calling in to support the work of Dr. Carly Simon, who has done an amazing job during an unprecedented pandemic that has completely disrupted all of our lives in this country and in much of the world. She kept her head when many were losing theirs. I appreciate the efforts of Dr. Simon and of our board in their commitment to educational equity for African Americans and marginalized children throughout our county. I also appreciate their heroic efforts to keep our teachers and students safe in the face of our governor and the state's Board of Education attacking them. The superintendent and the board's reliance on science and not politics has been greatly appreciated. Dr. Simon's commitment to all of our children learning African American history in the face of the hysteria across the country over critical race theory and the 1619 Project is greatly appreciated. Thank you, Dr. Simon, for your commitment to all the children of Alachua County.
Thank
Good
you.
evening.
How many more calls in the queue? 2. We're going to take these will be the last 2 phone calls, and then we're going to move back to the microphone here. So please go ahead.
Caller, go ahead. You have 3 minutes with the board.
Hi, thank you. So I am a current teacher here in Alachua County. I've been teaching here for almost 15 years. I'd prefer not to give you my name just because that's the environment that we're in, but I do want everyone to kind of be aware that morale for teachers has never been as low as it is this year. And I know everyone's spewing all this great stuff, but I want everyone to look at it from the lens of this great stuff that Dr. Simon is doing. It's not bad, but it's for her own gain. It is not for the gain of the students of Alachua County. It is not for the gain of the educators, the bus drivers, the staff. It is the gain for her and for her agenda and for her resume. It's something that I feel like is very blatant, but it just keeps getting pushed underneath the rug. And it concerns me with the board members' reviews who said that she's doing a great job with teacher morale. It means that you're not in touch with what's actually going on in the classrooms. And it means that you're not in touch with how all the teachers are feeling. And I love that Ms. McKeon got up there and spoke and said she's the voice, because so many of us are scared to call it. So many of us are scared to voice our opinions. And I just hope that you guys would do some searching, research, get a new superintendent, because at this point, trust has been lost. And I don't feel like it's something that's just going to be fixed. So that's my plea. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. And for the final phone call.
Caller, go ahead. You have 3 minutes with the board.
Thank you. My name is Linda Jones. I was embarrassed for Alachua County when Superintendent Simon chose to put herself in the forefront on the mask situation. She chose to defy the governor's mandate, the Department of Education mandate, and she put herself on national TV and the newspapers, as a previous caller went into great detail on. She truly believes she had the right to overrule parents when making decisions about their children's health. UF and Shands had experts who disagreed with UF and Shands experts she brought forward. We have a right to voice our concern. Negative comments are considered inappropriate by those who support Simon. There are teachers and staff who are afraid still to challenge her edicts. I do not support continuing Dr. Simon's contract. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now Commissioner Arriola.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief with my comments. A few years ago, the city of Gainesville took up a new challenge for our government. We were going to center the racial disparities in our city as the #1 issue for all of our policy-making decisions. Every single policy decision we would make from there on out would be centered towards closing those racial disparities that we are all too well aware of. This year, we are going to be focusing our comprehensive plan on centering racial equity in our land use development, land use zoning, and our partnership with the school board is very important in that effort. I personally have enjoyed working with you all. For the new members, I look forward to that. I'm here today to ask you all to support your superintendent in that work. This is a very key year, not just for your board and the city of Gainesville, but I think for our society. I think we cannot turn back the progress that we have made. I think we have to continue to trust one another, to work together, to address the historical ills which we all live with today still. So I thank you for your time, and I hope you'll consider. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I have no other forum, so I'm assuming that we are through. Yes, ma'am, please go ahead and state your name.
Thank you. Desmond Duncan Walker, City Commissioner, District 1. Standing this evening to, first of all, say thank you for the opportunity to say just a few words. As my colleague, Commissioner David Ariola, just stated, I will make my comments brief as well, as I too ask for this board to support maintaining the contract of Dr. Carly Simon. In my brief tenure at the City Commission, I've had the opportunity to begin work as well in our equity processes, and it has been a pleasure and a joy to start that work with Dr. Simon. I'd like to say that I noticed a willingness, a heart, a desire, and a passion to collaborate in moving community forward. Dr. Simon has shown me in our collaboration most recently to address the issue of gun violence throughout this community, that it is her heart's work to make not just schools, but entire communities a safer place. I cannot imagine what it must be like to walk into a situation during one of the most tumultuous times in history, meaning during the COVID-19 pandemic, and have to manage. That situation has turned life as we know it upside down. I cannot imagine what it has been like to be a mother herself, having to try to explain to her own children why she makes the decisions that she makes. I cannot imagine what it must feel like tonight to sit in this position with your life's work, your life's passion under fire. I ask this board this evening to do one thing, and that is to take time. In my observation, it appears that we've been through a number of superintendents in a brief amount of time. I think if we take this opportunity and not set ourselves back, but to give Dr. Simon time to do the work, to continue the collaborative work that she has been doing, to continue to move this community forward, that will be beneficial to us as a school board and to us as a city at large. I support maintaining Dr. Carly Simon's contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, anyone else? Please. You'll state your name. I think we know you, but.
I was just going to say. Adriana Keene. So I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but after hearing this lovely lady speak, I wish I could speak as well as her. I could use some coaching. She just mentioned COVID. I went back and I watched a December 4th video, I believe it was December 4th, where Dr. Simon stood up here during COVID with a mask on and took on this obligation. She very well knew what she was getting herself into with the added pressures of COVID. So yes, it was the board, but she also knew what there was going to be extra entailed. I've also sat here, well, I started this journey with zoning. I stand here, a year and a half later, no zoning has been done. So to me, that has been a failure. I do understand, again, COVID has gotten in the way, but that was one of the things that the board had promised to do, was to alleviate capacity issue on the west side, and we're all still here standing with the same problem. I also sit here and I hear a lot of white versus black. I hear a lot of east versus west. But the only time I've heard about the SWAG children or the area that's, because SWAG is an after-school advocacy program, but there's a lot of other neighborhoods around that area, is the only time we talked about zoning. Everything else is east, and I feel like it's black, and I could be completely wrong, but I feel like there is a large group of citizens on the west side of town that aren't being heard or talked about, and I could be wrong, but I don't know. I don't hear it from the meetings. So I feel like communication still could improve. I've said that before. I know that we have done different platforms, but getting the message across, I almost feel like the old school taping of paper to the child kindergarten's book bag so mom and dad sees it. We almost need to go back to that. because there's a lot of communication. There's so many platforms that I think things get lost. So I think we need to reevaluate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I do want to remind everyone of exactly what we're voting on today. We're not voting on the superintendent's contract. We are voting to accept into the record the 5 board members' evaluation. So this vote is just that. And it doesn't have, I think the evaluations speak for themselves. And I really appreciate folks that are coming in here tonight and calling in that have read them, that are speaking on from whatever view based on what they've read. I think that's great. So in fact, I was going to ask Ms. Mickens, since it's been so long, to reread the motion, but I think everybody gets it, because I think I just explained it, I think hopefully well enough, and we have now time for board discussion, if there's any board discussion at this time. Okay, seeing none. Oh, let's get, okay. Ms. Russell, and then Dr. McNeely after Ms. Russell.
Okay, well, thank you, Chairman. This is the last item on the action agenda, so we're going to vote. Where do we go from there? Are we going to have any discussions, or are we going to, what does it mean that we've done these evaluations? And
well, that's a great question. What it means is that we are acknowledging, for the record, 5 individual evaluations. There is no plan to go anywhere. This is a motion. It's motion and second, and public discussion, now board discussion, and that would have to be, if I'm not sure the implication, but this is one item. It's not, it doesn't have any bearing on future actions in itself.
no, I understand that. In our discussions, are we going to, tonight, are we going to discuss what we need to do going forward, improvements we can make?
Well, I think we could do that, certainly do that now, if you're talking about, except for that's probably not germane to the vote right now. If you have, we always have board member requests later in the evening that we could address. Okay. But as of right now, it's simply, is there a comment based on this motion? Okay, Dr. McNeely.
Excuse me. Thank you, Chairman Hyatt. And I'm going to share some comments that I have written. And the reason that I'm doing that, because what I submitted to Attorney Delaney did not have all of my information. So I'm going to take this privilege to share my thoughts with the citizens here, as well as the folk who are listening from home. The Alachua County School District, under the exemplary leadership of Dr. Carly Eskew Simon, has soared to great heights. A full year has passed, and it is time for me to give an account of your job performance as it pertains to the responsibilities and duties as superintendent of Alachua County School Board. It has been a remarkable year, one of joy as well as stressfulness in different aspects of her responsibilities. Dr. Simon has a very calm approach in actually enlisting the board's comments and thoughts on matters. She has a great sense of compassion for her role and has never come across argumentative, but kind and gentle in helping the board to reach our decisions. Dr. Simon has performed all services in a manner consistent with the highest standards of professional conduct and with the responsibilities of her position. Dr. Simon demonstrates team player behavior. She is always direct, straightforward, honest, and polite. I'm pleased about her accessibility, knowledge as a leader, and her many opportunities of participation that she has taken in professional development, like she just completed this weekend, as well as provided many professional development opportunities for the district staff. As I stated earlier, Dr. Simon is exemplary because of her effectiveness, consistency, and competence in working and communicating with others. She always demonstrates behaviors that result in positive working relationships. She continues to be transparent so that employees, the board members, and citizens are knowledgeable about the successes in the school system. The obstacles she has faced this year has been mere stumbling blocks. Because of her determination, she chooses to remain the course. I appreciate her mindset, and because of this, I am proud she is the superintendent of Alachua County School District. Further comments, I'm not done. She makes decisions and recommends solutions that are workable and consistent for the board's consideration. She has been accessible, responding in a timely manner, and keeping the board adequately informed of issues. My mouth is dry, I'm sorry. She listens to, understands, and considers the views of the school board members. I have had the pleasure of observing 8 superintendents since 1972, but none have demonstrated the quality of excellence in such a short tenure of time. Please hear what I just added. Short tenure of time. It is unbelievable and unprecedented, the accomplishments that Dr. Simon have acquired. The first day in the position, Carly had a clear vision for the district as it relates to the educational goals. She knows that the most important job of the school district is to make sure students are learning and achieving at high levels and is knowledgeable of the best practices for maximizing student achievement. She has done this. She is such a communicator that she makes a concerted effort to communicate the needs and accomplishments of the district through communication with the media, public meetings, etc. She has done this. I applaud her ability to being a good listener and take into account of different viewpoints of various constituencies, and then make the best decision. She has done this. Dr. Simon, our superintendent, is a great leader who promotes the success of all students, facilitating the development, articulation, implementation, and stewardship of a vision of learning that is shared and supported by the school community. Dr. Simon, thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your dedication. I hope that the public hears this 1/5 vote. What the other 4 had to say, that's on them. These are my thoughts. This is my mindset. And because I know some of the things, not all, but being with her enough in our conference time and to know what she has on her shoulders, please believe me, public. Out of all of the areas that there may have been bumps in the road, we cannot afford to start all over. I hope that people who are listening and have good mind thoughts know that this is true. I will take time, no matter where the board's request is. I will be longer next time, if there is a next, because you need to continue to hear. You only see a piece of what goes on in this school system. Only a piece. Only if you knew. Only if you were in the schools, in the classrooms, like some of us are, you would understand why we need the leadership that we have. Please understand. And Chairman Hyatt, if you don't have other people to speak, I'll continue. I have a notebook full. Mrs. Surton is saying no, but she's 1/5. I'm 1/5. And as long as we have the person to my far left, we will succeed. We will do the right thing in this district, and we need not stop what we have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. McNeely. And any other board comments? Ms. Surton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief. I've submitted my evaluation, and I tried to encapsulate some of the thoughts of my views of her, Dr. Simon and her tenure that she's here. I appreciate her service, and she has indeed at times been the punching bag of many. I want to reiterate or just kind of repeat, it's been said by one citizen, and it's kind of, I don't know if it was understood by a caller, but Dr. Simon and the actions that she took, and really as it relates to the masking and working out a COVID protocol, that was as a result of the directive from the board. Some citizens have phrase it and make comments as if she did that of her own accord, but she did that at the board's direction. And as for the media type things that were on her self-reflection, I don't know how to feel. I don't feel negative about it. I don't feel positive. I just saw they were there, and I don't think she went looking for those. When we were going through that, the media got requested of me. So I think a lot of those appearances were the media making a request of her. And so, matter of fact, I know all of them were, because you don't just call and just say, I want to be on your show. They have a lot of people that want that. So I don't think we begrudge someone of the opportunity to share and to be in the spotlight. Dr. Simon did not take on to buck and defy the governor. She was carrying out the directives of her employer. I've been pleased with her leadership, and I will say I understand that there's a portion of our community who doesn't, they spoke negatively of her tenure. But there will not be a superintendent that serves in this school district or any other that will have 100% support in their community. But we have to hope that we get a leader in your organization that will have the heart to do what's right, to serve with integrity, to want to be innovative, and to address the needs of the students. And I think that Dr. Simon has done that. I almost wanted to turn a cartwheel when the citizens stood up and spoke about investing in K1 and 2 instead of trying to make up the difference in grade 3. And that's a conversation that I had when I first came on the board, because I think it's essential. I think if we invest early and often in our students, we can have good outcomes, irregardless of a lot of circumstances. Funding will always be an issue, but what I always say is we get Title I dollars, and if it may not have been a district-wide initiative, the schools where we have our most neediest students, and they come to school, and where we hear that they have not received good early education, preschool education, so they come in with not all the skills and being kindergarten ready. Those Title I dollars could be used to make an investment in a program like YouFly. So I am elated that we have that. And today, I promise you, my heart was really just overflowing to walk into that room and to see Ms. Merrick's doing that. I'm often in the schools. I probably make 90% of the visits when the Department of Education is here in our county visiting our school improvement schools. So that's an additional 5 meetings every month, but it's important to me. It's important. I walked in the swag area to talk to those parents about zoning because I didn't feel like we had heard from them. I went and I walked and knocked on doors in the swag community with other members in that community. 2 days. I walked and knocked on doors because I wanted to hear from them, because I didn't want to make a decision at the last minute where I didn't feel like we had heard from them. Often, I have been on the side and sat in a chair where I felt like my voice wasn't heard. That's why I decided to seek a seat on this board here. So as I've said before, I promise to listen to the people, and I've gone off, and it's not about me. I submitted my evaluation of our superintendent. I thought she's operated effectively. She did know that we were in COVID, but when you step into a role that she didn't step in just to lead an organization and to implement change, because that's really what she is. She's a transitional leader that we've charged, me, my 1/5, because I felt that we needed change, and it's a hard spot to be in. I think she accepted that, and she hasn't asked for pity. She hasn't sat up here when folks have attacked her verbally, in emails, on social media, innuendo. She has not responded in a like manner. And I really want to address this because it's been said several times about the intimidation and the fearfulness. That ain't new. People didn't just start feeling that with Dr. Simon in that seat. That was felt when Ms. Clark was here, Ms. Hollinger was here. I heard people say when Dr. Roberts was here. Folks were afraid to speak up when they felt that something was wrong because they felt that there was a system that was in place that they wouldn't get a fair shake if they were outside or criticizing somebody that was inside the circle. So a feeling of retaliation and fear and intimidation, that is not new because Dr. Simon is here. And she didn't start that. I actually myself have personal knowledge of one employee that came and spoke up at this board, in this boardroom here, and applied for a job later at a middle school in an area where he's certified in, and he did not get hired. They hired an uncertified teacher, a teacher that didn't have certification, over him. He had 8 years of experience or so, certified, and he didn't get selected. So I think if anybody, and that wasn't under her tenure. That wasn't under your tenure. So this narrative that we're hearing, it's really frustrating. I've been really frustrated for a while, so I commend our superintendent for really being calm of a disposition and being able to take some of that, because I'm learning, but sometimes I want to explode, because when you indict her, you indict the board, because our superintendent is an employee of the board, and she's doing that in the face of us. I think we will come together and adopt some priorities and give her some directions. We tell her what it is we'd like for her to do, and the superintendent and her team will figure out the details and the how they'll get done what we want. But I thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing me the chance to say a few words, and I thank Dr. Simon for her service to us, and her leadership has been rocky, but she stayed the course. And the race isn't given to the swift or the strong, but to those who endure to the end. And oftentimes when you come and it's a different path that has to be taken, the road is often hard and bumpy, but we kind of have to stay the course if we want to see change. And we don't know how long the course is, but if you keep shifting and stopping and starting again, a lot of time progress is slow to come. So I'm all about the children and wanting to see good outcomes for all of our students, not just Black students, not just white students. I want all of them to be taken care of and to be acknowledged. That is my true desire. Because my children were not low performers, they were high performers, but I were a whole lot of children in this county, as I've said before, who looked like me, who were being left behind, and I don't want them left behind. And there are also a lot of poor and marginalized students who are not African American, who were being left behind or not being served. I want our district to think about everybody. I want us to have a sound, strong public education system, because when I left Tallahassee on Friday, I promise you I didn't feel, I heard some bills that were being proposed in the education subcommittee meeting that really made me feel that we're in trouble. And I came back with a resolve to Gainesville on Friday saying, these are not my enemy. I think we all love public education and we want to see it preserved, and I think I have faith in us that we'll do what it takes to work together to have good outcomes and to not cannibalize each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sardin. Any other comments from board members? Okay, Dr. Simon.
I just would like to thank you all for your feedback on the evaluations. I know that there are some opportunities for me to continue to build relationships and to improve. I look forward to us working together, and I want you to know that I am committed to support the board in their direction, and I'm committed to working on relationships that need attention, and I hope that we can move forward together to be very successful for this school district and for the children that we serve.
Thank you, Dr. Simon. Okay. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Okay, we're back to citizen input, and I do have one person commenting on a different subject. So I'd just like to ask, since we've had a very thorough and full opportunity for people to speak, both in person and online, that we not revisit what we've just done. Certainly, we'll be here as long as we need to be here for other issues. But right now, I only have one written, so next up at the mic would be Evelyn Quirk.
Hello. So my name is Evelyn Quirk. I am a student at Lincoln Middle School. And what I wanted to talk about was the dress code. Sorry. So I just, I don't have any sort of solution for this, but I kind of feel like I'm supposed to say something if I'm just unhappy with things the way they are. I don't really have any way to fix this, but I feel like that's kind of not really my job. I was trying to think of something, but that's okay. So basically, I don't like many of the dress code rules, specifically ones that target girls because of things that they wear, like, just like shorts and like wearing things that, because these are things that girls wear. I mean, like, of course guys can wear them, but that's not, anyways. When I ask people why someone might be dress coded, or, that's okay.
Could you speak up just a little bit? We're having trouble hearing you.
Okay.
Speak into the microphone, thank you.
So when I've asked people why, like, these sorts of, like, things are dress coded and why they're not allowed, it's the most common answer that I get is because they're, like, distracting, or they're just, like, or they're just attracting too much attention, and it's, like, bad for a learning space. And kind of, like, to that I would say that these clothes that people wear and students get dress coded for are things that people wear in real life. And I don't understand how you might intend to, like, prepare students for real life and, like, for, like, adulthood without having them have, like, this, like, a similar environment. And I don't understand why this is, honestly, I'm just kind of, like, confused and, like, irritated a little bit by, like, some of the things, because it just doesn't make sense. Like, I feel, and another thing is, like, it just creates sort of, like, random and unnecessary gender tensions. Like, I would get dress coded, and the entire time, all I'm thinking is, like, are, like, people looking at me? And usually, because these are, like, things that specifically target girls, I would be thinking, like, are guys looking at me? Are people, like, looking at me and, like, being distracted because of something that I was wearing? And it's just hard because these sorts of things aren't something that you should have to think about in school. You should be able to be comfortable without having to think about, like, if people are thinking about you. And another thing is, like, again, these tensions are unnecessary because if you ask a guy, like, nobody's getting distracted by this. Nobody. And if they are being distracted, if they really are, then why should they be why should these things just be avoided?
Okay, Evelyn, we're at 3 minutes now. I will say that having taught for 38 years, that dress code problems have been going around a long time. But I'm thinking that maybe Dr. Edwards, could you possibly, if Dr. Edwards is over here, if you would give her your contact information, Ray, look to the right, and she's over, and I'm sure Dr. Edwards or someone in her office could talk with you about this. I really thank you for bringing this up, and it's something that we need to hear, and it's and it always takes a lot of courage for a student to come up and speak, and so I know we're all appreciative, and Dr. Edwards is your perfect person to talk to. Okay, thank you. Okay, Dusty Bailey.
Dusty what? Just once more, and I'll be brief. Thanks again for the opportunity to speak. This has to do with I would like for this to be on the minutes or be on the record. There was a complaint filed, but I don't believe that it reached the certain level that it needed to. This is in regards to a survey given at Buchholz's entrepreneurial mentor classes there. In this survey, the question was asked, medical science concludes that a fetus cannot feel pain in early development due to an underdeveloped nervous system. Knowing this, do you believe that this is a reasonable, or this is reasonable to allow a woman to have an abortion? Obviously, I'm a man. A lot of viewpoints in the room might be, well, why is this man talking about women's rights and abortion issues? This is actually brought up by a concerned mother. And then quite a few other mothers have chimed in after that, so this isn't a sexist issue. It's just something that I think that definitely needs to be addressed and figure out whether this was school-specific at Buchholz High School or whether this is something that was a county-wide survey. This survey took place within the last 2 weeks. So again, if that could be looked into further.
Excuse me, Mr. Hyatt.
Yes.
Go ahead, Doctor.
So we have looked into this, and Ms. Wise can speak to this further, but our understanding, because we did find this out on social media, is that this was actually a student project. This was not a project or a product of the school system. So a student created this survey for a class project, and this was not something that was curriculum driven by the school system. Ms. Wise has worked with the principal. I know the principal is addressing it, but this is not something that the school system is providing as a curriculum to any students.
And so I'm wondering if, well, go ahead, Mr. Baker.
No, I insist.
No, I would say that if you would check, make sure that Ms. Wise has your contact information, and she can get back to you on what this, to let you know what's happening at Buchholz.
Sure. As a proponent of freedom of speech, if this was a student project, as you say that is, then obviously there's I have no opposition to that. Just wanted to make sure that it wasn't something provided by the Alachua County Schools. Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you very much. And the First Amendment's a great thing. We'd be in bad shape without it. Okay, do we have any phone calls? One, so this will be our one and only phone call.
Caller, go ahead. You have 3 minutes with the board.
Okay, my name is Carrie Parker Warren, and I'm calling in support of Dr. Simon. And I know that many of you have spoken, and I would just like to say thank you for your support for her. And I would just like to.
Okay. Yeah, and I thought I was very clear about everybody had a chance to speak earlier, but I've got a Dr. Fox. I'm sorry, Ms. Fox, Evelyn Fox. Do you want to speak to this, to what issue, the superintendent? Okay, well, we're sort of not in that time, but go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for this opportunity, and to Dr. Paulson, my condolences to you and your family. I'm here to get some clarity on the process that is about to happen. Now, Dr. Hyatt said that all you want to do is discuss the
evaluations. We are not here to fire Dr. Simon here tonight, I hope. We are in support of Dr. Simon, and when I say we, I'm talking about the Alachua County branch of the NAACP. I think we don't need to change horses in the middle of the screen. And with the short time that Dr. Simon has been here, it's been a little rough, but I think she deserves an opportunity. Everybody deserves a chance. And since she's been here, you know, it's been like everything with the pandemic. It's really, really crazy. And talking about the mask, that was a county mandate, if I believe it. So it wasn't her mandate. It was done by the Board of County Commissioners, and they set forth the recommendations for the mask. So I wanted to be clear that it wasn't her, you know, because some people are thinking that she may. But I think it's wonderful for the mask. I have gone back into parenthood. I take care of a 6-year-old autistic child that attends Williams Elementary.
Okay, Ms. Fox, we've got the time.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'll once again ask people to not address a topic that we've already closed out and had a lot of time to do it, but Ms. McCann.
I didn't intend to talk, but after Board Member Certain spoke, I just want to thank her for clarifying what she said tonight. At the last board meeting, it upset a lot of teachers, thinking that Alachua County Public Schools weren't doing a good job for minority kids. They took it very personal, that they weren't doing their best to teach all children. So I thank you for clarifying that tonight, and I hope that makes sense for some of the teachers that listen to the board meeting. We're a very small number of people in here, and there's a very small number of people who call in, and opinion is all over the place. So I only want to say, and this has nothing to do with the evaluation of the superintendent, that the board members want to hear from you. If you are afraid to email, then you can simply say, I want to say some good things about the superintendent, please call me, give your number. Or you could say, I have some concerns that I would like to discuss with the board, and give your phone number. I'm hearing from many people that they're afraid to put anything in writing, and so I think all opinions should be heard. I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak for the people who talk to me, and I'm just one person. I'm not the sounding board. People need to do their own sounding. So thank you for listening to me, and I hope that the public hears that message. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move ahead to board member superintendent requests. And if we could keep it toward requests, that would be great, but we're pretty flexible here. Ms. Russell.
Due to the, as a result of the evaluations, I think there was enough material here of concern for us as a board and a superintendent in going forward. What I would like to request that at the next meeting next week that we discuss further what this evaluation means to the board and to the superintendent. Can that be on the agenda for next week?
I'll have to ask Ms. Mickens on that. My understanding would be that that the meeting has already been noticed, as in 7 days, and I don't want to, reveal. great legal knowledge too much, but I'm going to ask Ms. Mickens whether we could add an agenda item at this time, because I don't know the answer to that.
Mr. Hyatt, my last understanding was that the agenda for next week was finalized.
Okay.
I might need some clarification on that, but that's my understanding. So the board chair can take requests, the policy.
Okay, thank you. That would be my understanding. So we would not be able to have that as an agenda item on the February 15th meeting.
How about March the 1st?
March the 1st, that's a request. I think I'll discuss this with the superintendent, Dr. Simon.
May I ask some clarification or questions? So one of the evaluation requirements in the policy is to set the priorities, the strategic priorities. Is this what you were discussing, that we would, on March 1st, focus on the board's strategic priorities to give direction?
Partly, yes, but also to just take a look at the results of the evaluation. And what that means to the board. There were 3 members of the board who had a lot of concerns, and I want us to discuss those because we need a remedy going forward. I don't know that we can just plow after these evaluations. I don't know if we can just continue the way we are. I would like for us to discuss that.
So my second question will be, are you asking to put my contract on the next board meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so that's something, when I meet with the superintendent for agenda review, we will, I would assume, do that, but it has to be reviewed, and we have enough time for that to happen. So I'm guessing that can happen for the March 1st meeting. Dr. McNeely.
I have a question for my colleague, Mrs. Russell. If you're putting the contract out there for March, I thought we had just settled before we went into board members' request that this evaluation would move us forward, would move the superintendent forward. What else do you want? Just a minute, I'm asking Mrs. Russell a question.
I thought, okay, we accepted them into the record. If we aren't going to take any kind of consideration of what these evaluations say, what is the point?
Well, okay.
In making an?
I'm gonna ask that at this point all discussion go through the chair, and I want to respond, and I'll go right back to you, Dr. McNeely. I'm trying to clarify what we did today was something that we do annually and has not been done since June of 2020, so we're behind, and that is to accept 5 individual evaluations into the record. That's all this is. Since I've been on the board, until June of 2020, it was a basic non-event. Whether or not there were some evaluations that were as split as these are, but it was simply the evaluations. So if there is any board member has the right to ask for an agenda item for future meetings. But that has, that is not what we were here for tonight. So I'm again, if you ask for something to be on the agenda, then the superintendent sets the agenda with consulting with the chair, and we'll move forward with that when we have a review meeting. And so I don't know why in the world. Now I would like, specifically, I'm guessing that you want to talk about the superintendent's contract because she asked a question and you answered. But I before then I didn't know. So Dr. McNeely.
Chairman Hyatt, would you address, I guess we need to go back and take a look at the minutes in which the superintendent spoke. Not only did she speak tonight about where she wanted to go based on the leadership training that she had just concluded prior to this meeting tonight. If there is anything other than that, then what Mrs. Russell is saying is something totally different. In fact, we were supposed to be working on the strategic planning based on where we needed to go with this evaluation process. That is the what I received from Attorney Delaney, who had been working with each of us as far as what we needed to do for the evaluation. So we did that. But I'm not understanding now where, I guess what the question remains, but Mr. Hyatt would have to ask you, where does this lead? I can't ask you that. He needs to ask you that. I can't. He says it needs to go through the
Yeah.
chair.
Oh, no, we don't know how it's where it's going to lead. So, Dr. McNeely, you were very instrumental in hiring Dr. Simon, and you remember how that worked and how there was so what I'm.
Hold it, Chairman. What do you mean by that statement?
No, because you were one of three. You were the majority of the board.
And now we don't have the three, so what are you in?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying what happened.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure how that's sensitive. But the deal is, at that time, it was, well, let's have we're having a special meeting in 4 days, and you can either be there or not be there. I have no intention of having a special meeting, and I'm going to respond to each board member as individually. So, Dr. McNeely, if you requested an item for the agenda, we would get it on. We would get it on there, and so I'm not sure if there are certain board members that I shouldn't respond to, but I'll let Ms. Mickens tell me if I'm out of line here. We had a request. I said I will discuss it with the superintendent, and I would assume that it would be on the March 1st agenda.
And that's fine, Chairman Hyatt. However, you inferred a little bit more when you inserted me about the selection and appointment of the superintendent, and I think that's really unfair.
Well, I don't feel like
I know you don't.
Well, what I said was basically what happened, and there wasn't any inference involved. Okay, do we have?
Mr. Simon.
Okay, Dr. Paulson.
An evaluation is even in the contract. If one thing you could decide what her salary is, that's in your contract. So these kinds of things will be discussed. That's why you evaluate people. I don't think anybody would deny that. We evaluated the superintendent. What we'll do now is we'll ask questions, correct? And when we finished, then we make a decision, and then we'll make a decision what we'll do. And to sit there and just say, no, Ms. Russell didn't say, what are you going to do? We don't know what we're going to do. That's why we evaluated her. This is to hand it in so it becomes official. And then we can go, just like you, he's right. When you gave the other superintendent, it got rushed through. We're not trying to rush it through. We're trying to do it the way we should do it and give the superintendent a fair chance. But to sit there after what you did, and you're going to question him, I find that hard to believe.
Dr. Paulson?
Okay, I'm going to ask, and
You're going to ask me to be quiet?
no, I'm not. No, I was asked by you to be quiet a lot of times, but I'm not going to ask you to be quiet. What I am going to say is I would expect as board members that we try, and this is for everybody, 5 people, including me, that we try not to be personal, and so I don't want, if we could try not to raise our voices. I know we're all passionate, but if we could, try to do the best we can in discussion. And again, I am asking that it go through me. And Dr. McNeely, thank you for your patience. Please go ahead.
Mr. Hyatt, Chairman Hyatt, I would recommend if the meeting is going to be about the contract and where it will go on the 1st of March, you need a larger room. And not, if it's freezing cold, people are not going to want to sit outside waiting to come in. If you really want the public to speak about where we go with the superintendent's contract, you're going to have to go over to the basketball court or the Connell Center, somewhere, because this room is not large enough.
Okay.
Period.
Thank you, Dr. McNeely, and I do want, if that is indeed on the agenda, I do want a full public participation and for everyone to be heard. And so again, so thank you for the suggestion. Ms. Certain.
Thank you. I didn't know it was so easy to get like something on, because I remember back when we were purchasing the land, and I sent an email and asked for there to be a special meeting so that we could share details about the purchase of that. And only Dr. McNeely and myself agreed. I couldn't get it. No one else agreed. We needed 3 people to agree, and no one else agreed with, me. And I made that request for us to have a special meeting. That was a very large purchase, something very important. And as you've seen in the papers and all from the news reports and everything that's come out about that and investigations that are ongoing with that particular deal, there was something there. And so I don't have a problem with us having the meeting in May, because I feel her work is spoken for her, and whatever is going to happen is going to happen. But I'm disappointed to hear that it's so easy for that to happen now, when I made that request about something that was so important. Her contract is nearly as financially significant as the purchase of that land. So I'm disappointed. But anyway, I'll show up whenever it is. And I didn't make this comment before when there was a special meeting called a few months ago, whenever. But
Ms. Certain, I think I'm already on record tonight as saying I'm not in favor of a special meeting. I am.
Special meeting, I mean, just about that, I'm just saying, even when I asked, that was something that was very important. So this is something that was a board member request, And I did make that request
Okay.
through the chair, and we needed 3 fellow members, or the chair could have requested that meeting, and McNeely and myself, but you or the other member who's no longer with us would agree to that. So that's just disappointing that on some matters that we can get some consensus to put something on the agenda, but in something that was so critical and to the trust of the community and with our fiduciary responsibility to this organization, that it fell by the wayside. And it was just dismissed as being like I was making a big deal out of nothing, but as we can see, I don't think I was.
Okay, thank you. Now, do we have any, thank you, Dr. Simon.
So I know that Ms. McCann has offered to serve as an opportunity for people to have an anonymous report. But I do want you to also know that we have Let's Talk app, which is on our website, and individuals who would like to remain anonymous can post that way. So you do have 2 options.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other requests by a board member? Okay. Hearing none, I'd like to certainly thank everyone here that spoke, everyone who listened, including our citizens at home. Thank you very much. We're adjourned.
You did a good job.